shoulder. I wiped the perspiration off my brow as I set my sights on the glass doors of the building. The place didn't look like much on the outside, just a tall beige concrete industrial building. It's what's on the inside that counts, I thought to myself as I pulled open the door. The whoosh of air conditioning descended in a welcome wave, refreshing my hot skin. I embraced the sweet and musky scent of sweat emanating from the weight room. The sounds of metal clinging from down the hall echoed off the walls toward me. Hypnotized, I followed the sound. The fluorescent lights that lined the hallway buzzed quietly as the sounds of the metal on metal got louder, slowly drowning out the noise of the lights. I approached the archway to the main area and slowed. A butterfly took flight in my belly as I peered cautiously through the gap in the cinder block walls. The room took up most of the industrial space of the building. Large halogen lights high in the ceiling brightened the room, so it was easy to navigate the machinery. My eyes traveled quickly over the after-work crowd, and I swiftly released the breath I'd been holding. Relieved that I didn't see him, I crossed past the opening to head to the locker room. Chewing the corner of my bottom lip, I rounded the corner and slammed right into a solid body, an oomph escaping my lips. A hand grabbed my arm in a vice, squeezing my bicep. My heart rate began to increase. "Steve!" slipped from my lips as I bit back the words of pain. "You scared me." His grip intensified around my arm, and I clenched my jaw to hide the pain. "Where have you been?" He sneered down at me as his face came closer, his dark brown eyes closing into a squint. I blinked in confusion. "I just got here. I was a little late getting off of work." My fingers began to feel numb on my left hand, but I would not give him the benefit of knowing how much discomfort his hold caused. As his mouth opened to speak, the odor of bitter coffee struck my face. The sound of footsteps echoing on the walls caused him to look over my head. He released my arm instantly and stepped back. There was no doubt in my mind whose shoes approached us. I flexed my hand slightly by my side, but never took my eyes from Steve's face. Mark stepped up beside me, just close enough that his arm brushed against my shoulder. I looked up to see his jaw clenched, the muscle on the side ticking like a second hand on a clock. I glanced back to Steve and took in the anger etched on his face. "Steve?" Mark's voice was deep and gruff. "Mark," replied Steve's deeper voice. They stood almost nose to nose around 5'10" or 11 each, their shoulders stiff and wide enough to block out the view of an entire room. They sized each other up, never breaking eye contact with one another. Clearing my throat quietly, I tried to break up the mounting tension. Mark's eyes flicked to me quickly, although his face didn't move. "Mandy, go get dressed. We have a busy routine tonight." Thankful to have been released, I nodded and sidestepped Steve to go the last 10 feet to the locker room. As the door closed slowly on the scene behind me, the muffled thump of my gym bag as it hit the tile floor filled the quiet room. I sank to the bench, allowing my face to fall into my hands. "This needs to stop," I thought. Unzipping my bag, I relaxed at the sound of the metal on metal. I needed to forget about Steve and start focusing instead on what lower body routine Mark would put me through. I kicked off my sneakers and wriggled out of my jeans to put on my workout gear. Before tossing my work clothes into my bag, I pulled out my weight gloves, straps, and leather support belt that would protect my lower back and internal organs. I pulled my long blonde hair up high and tight on my head, hoisted my bag into my locker, and then spun the dial on my lock, turning to make my way to the main floor. Mark stood right where I expected him. Glancing around, I didn't see Steve, and my shoulders relaxed. I smiled as I stepped in front of Mark, hoping he would skip the lecture, his intense green eyes watching my every move.